What is up, everybody? It is Deidre here. Thank you for watching another one of my videos. Today I'm going to be doing 5 pros and 5 cons of living in Shanghai. So let's get started. Pro number 1, I really like the fact that Shanghai is such a huge city, both population-wise and geographically. There's so much to do here, so many people to meet from all over the world, and there's a lot of different cultural activities that you can immerse yourself in, including different types of foods, different types of interesting activities, and Shanghai on the Bund area has like the French concession, which is like literally walking into a part of France. And then they have like lots of delicious taco restaurants and different Mexican restaurants, different Indian restaurants, different Mediterranean restaurants. I like to eat a different type of cuisine each time. Okay, let's move on to pro number 2. The people here are very, very friendly and kind, and they're more than willing to help you. So a lot of times you'll walk up to a stranger and ask them for directions, or you'll ask them for some type of help with something. And from my experience, most of the time they speak English and they're able to help me. If they don't speak English, you can use your translator, and they will also be more than willing to help you. So that's definitely a pro for me. Number 3 is how easy it is to find a job here. There are so many different types of jobs that are willing to work with you, that are willing to hire you, and I absolutely love my job as an English reading teacher here. So I got this job within one day of me searching. I had, I think, 3 or 4 interviews lined up, and I just went into this one in person, and I absolutely loved the environment. They were all so friendly and very helpful, and they helped me find this apartment that same day that I signed the contract. So I did say I was going to keep it to 5, so we're going to move on to number 5. It's going to be really hard for me to just keep it within 5 pros because there's so many cool things about living here. But for me, it's just the beauty of Shanghai. So you have, like, for those of you who really like living in a big city, you like skyscrapers, you like futuristic looking buildings, Shanghai is definitely the place you want to be. And a lot of these buildings let you just pay a ticket or pay whatever fee to go to the top of the building, and usually they'll have really beautiful restaurants there that overlook the Bund or that overlook the financial center, so you can have dinner with a view and you're like way at the top of the city. So that's definitely something I love. But at the same time, if I'm stuck in a city for too long, I start going crazy. And by too long, I mean like over a week. So the other beautiful thing about Shanghai is you can escape to one of the parks, and they have so many parks here that you feel like you're really in the countryside. So that's definitely one of my favorite things about living here. So there's too many parks for me to count. Okay, so now let's focus on the 5 cons. So I'm gonna have to think about this one, but we're gonna start off with number 1. It is rather expensive to live here. So if you want to eat Chinese food, or if you want to eat something like from a restaurant that isn't an international restaurant, it's going to be cheaper for you, and a lot cheaper. But if you're like me, I need to have a variety of different types of foods, and it is rather expensive, especially because I'm a vegetarian. So I tend to do like healthier diet type of food. So your meals can definitely start racking up. So whenever you're budgeting, I would highly recommend you budget in your food and your meals basically into your budget, because if not, you're going to be spending a lot more than you expected. Okay, so let's move on to con number 2. This is not really specifically for Shanghai, but basically any city you want to live in when you move to China. So because you're a foreigner, you need to first of all make sure you have all of your documentation in place long before you plan to move here. Your Chinese visa, you have a company or some friend who can send you a letter that you give to the Chinese embassy in your country, so they can prepare or help you prepare before you come here to get your visa, because you will not be allowed in the country without a visa, or you can't stay basically without a visa. Also, you need to make sure your company is legit and that you have the proper documents so that they can help you get your correct working visa. If not, you're gonna have a lot of problems and even deportation, so you won't be welcome back in China. I think it's like 10 years. Also, as a foreigner, you do have to register with the police, and you do have to go to the PSB. Okay, con number 3, I would say that the seasons are a little extreme. Well, maybe for me, because I'm a Texas girl and I'm used to like having mild winters and then basically summer the rest of the year. But when I came to Shanghai, I was surprised because I thought it being much more south than Beijing. I lived in Beijing for 2 years, for those of you who don't know. I thought the winters weren't going to be as extreme, but it's the end of April now, and I feel like the cold weather is barely dwindling off. So it's still cold. Like I still have to leave with a jacket. So in Texas now it's probably in the 80s or 90s. And I'm not used to it being cold this long. Like I thought in Shanghai it was going to be a lot warmer than Beijing, but it seems like it's almost exactly the same climate wise. Well, Beijing does get like maybe 20 degrees colder in the winter, and it does snow a bit more than it does in Shanghai. All right, so this is con number 4. It's going to contradict my pro number 1 because it is that I dislike the fact that Shanghai is so big. How is that possible to like that the most and then also dislike that? Well, what I mean is you definitely feel like there are over 26 million people living here, and it's traffic at times can become a pain in the butt. And not only that, the pollution, the air quality is not the best. So there are some days where it's like sunny or it should be a good day, but you can just see the pollution, you can smell the pollution. And yeah, sometimes you can't see the sky because there's so many tall buildings around. In that sense, I don't like the fact that it's so massive. But in the other ways that I talked about it being a pro, of course, I love that. So if you know how to balance yourself, and if you know how to know when it's time to go out into a park and just breathe in, then I think you'll be fine. As long as you know when you've had enough, you can go into the countryside or you can go into one of the many, many parks and kind of find your balance. Okay, let's move on to con number 5. Okay, so con number 5. I feel like anywhere you do go, if you're trying to get away from people, if you're trying to find your balance and your peace and you're trying to meditate, it's going to be hard for you to just be alone. Even when you're in your apartment, I'm constantly hearing people outside working, people talking. I hear my neighbors' footsteps constantly clacking all around. I'm always hearing people in groups shouting outside this way. And this is pretty much any city I've lived in China. It's rather noisy because there are lots of people around, which can be a good thing because people are very active here in Shanghai. It's definitely not a slow-paced city. Even on my days off, I'm constantly doing things. And on the weekend, if you go, I've rarely had a weekend off, but on the times that I have had a weekend off, there's so many people out and about doing things in their free time. And then I have Mondays and Tuesdays off, and people are still everywhere doing things. Consider subscribing if you haven't already, and please share this video. See you next time. Goodbye.